First of all, I would like to express my happiness in having you all in the third international conference on Islamic economics and financial inclusion. Welcome to our campus, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Yogyakarta. I would like to express my happiness in having you all in the third international conference on Islamic economics and financial inclusion. Welcome to our campus, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Yogyakarta. I would like to express my happiness in having you all in
conference yang diselenggarakan oleh IPF ya, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Saya akan menyampaikan materi tentang plagiarisme and SDGs, prospects and policies.
Thank you very much. I hope the organizer and the university will flourish and again to organize in this kind of conference in near future. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to share my paper on integration of Islamic microfinance with WACF. And we had presented a model which is being practiced by our Center for Islamic Economics, basically called ITAJIR, which is in collaboration with the CIMB Islamic in Malaysia.
It's a good opportunity for me to attend this conference, the third conference Islamic Economic and Financial Inclusion. And it's a good opportunity for me also to bring my paper in this discussion, especially to link between Islamic finance and SDG.
Acara seminar internasional ini sangat bermanfaat ya bagi kalangan akademisi, kalangan mahasiswa untuk meningkatkan pengetahuannya, meningkatkan kualitas tulisannya khususnya tentang ekonomi keuangan syariah.
First, let me congratulate the organizing committee for choosing a topic that is very relevant today. As we know, in 2015, the United Nations formulated the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, whose idea is to bring people, planet, and prosperity together.
Acara ini sangat bagus, ya, terutama ketika topik-topiknya itu adalah sangat relevan pada zaman sekarang dan topik-topik yang dibawa adalah topik-topik terhangat.
This agenda is very delightful, great, and it's very worth for me and also for other participants because in 5 days, 8 to 8, we have many knowledge from the great speakers from overseas, and we know about Islamization of the knowledge in other world also. For the committee, I also say thanks very much because you are very strong for 5 days here and also very good to serve us as a participant.
So first of all, Alhamdulillah, because I got the best paper awards. Although I got the best paper award, it doesn't mean the other participants the paper is not best. All the participants did their best. Okay, so for me, Alhamdulillah, is a kind of the reward from Allah SWT because give me this opportunity to come here, I present my idea. Alhamdulillah, my idea is appreciated and also somehow is given some kind of the incentive for my papers.
Finally, I am personally, as director, want to express sincere thanks and appreciation to all the parties that have contributed much to the success of this event. May Allah bless us and always give us health and iman. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome, Mr. Dr. Rizky, Prima Sakti. Okay.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Bu Titis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, let's start. Is that okay? You ready, Doctor?
Inshallah, Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Innalhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. May yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa may yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ladies and gentlemen, brother and sister, I'd like to welcome Dr. Rizky Prima Sakti, who will speak on corporate governance for bank. Beforehand, I will introduce myself. My name is Diatitis Kusuma Wardani. I'm a lecturer at Department of Economics and International Program for Islamic Economics and Finance, IPF. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Dr. M. Rizky Prima Sakti, occupation. He is an assistant professor, Islamic finance at the Department of Business Administration, University College of Bahrain, UCB. Previously, he was a research consultant at the International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, EIIS, Malaysia. He also served as a consultant at the Islamic Research and Training Institute, IRTI, Saudi Arabia. He was a lecturer at the IIUM Center for Continuing Education and UNITAR International University. During his PhD tenure, he completed a research fellowship Islamic finance at the University of Tsukuba, Japan. Award. As a young academician, he received a 2019 highly commended award from Emerald Publishing. He was also awarded as the Young Researcher Award from the Society for the Advancement of Socioeconomics, SASE, in year 2018. Best Paper Award from Bank of Indonesia, BI, in year 2018 and 2014, and Best Paper Award from the Financial Services Authority of Indonesia, OJK, in year 2014 and 2013. Research. He has published several articles in Scopus and IC indexed journals and presented a number of papers in various international conferences. Education. He possessed a Doctor of Philosophy from University Technology Malaysia, UTM, Master of Sciences in Finance from International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM, and double degrees, Bachelor of Economics and Bachelor of Business Administration from Universitas Negeri Padang, UNP, and University Utara Malaysia, UUM, respectively. Okay, Doctor, you have 1 hour or about 60 minutes, yeah? And then for participants, there will be time at the end of the presentation for any question you may have. Okay, let's screen share. Yeah. This is Dr. Rizky, and I'll share the material.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So shall I start now, Bu Titis?
Yes, please do, Doctor. Rizky, time is yours.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. And good afternoon to brothers and sisters in Indonesia and Malaysia, and good morning for those who are in the Middle East regions. First of all, let I convey my sincere gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, who has given us a good opportunities today. Although we are still in the midst of the lockdown, but we can do such a great events, the International Training for Young Islamic Economic Leaders conducted by the Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Thank you very much for your invitations. I would like to name Brother Dr. Dimas to invite me to become one of the speakers in this prestigious event. This is a great opportunity for me also to share with you and also to learn from the all participants from all around the world. I heard that participants come from various countries, yes, from ASEAN and Indonesia, Malaysia. Even one of my students also attended. He's from Bahrain, from Qatar, and even a country in the North Africa region. It's a great pleasure for me to speak in front of you all, my dear brother and sister, inshallah. So, Dr. Titis, as you, the moderator, thank you for welcoming me and giving me my short introduction of my background. Yeah, by the way, I'm currently serve as the lecturer, assistant professor, Islamic Finance at the University College of Bahrain. Yeah, so the topic entrusted to me for this current event is Sharia and corporate governance practices for Islamic banking and financial institution. Yeah. By the way, talking about the governance, Sharia and corporate governance, it's one of the PhD dissertation. So I'm working on the corporate governance in Islamic bank during my PhD work. And when I serve also as a researcher at the IAS, I'm more inclined to research on the governance area instead of other areas in Islamic economics and finance. Right. So as Dr. Titi had mentioned, my background is a free academician. Yeah. By the way, I'm not the Sharia scholar. I'm not the expert in fiqh, yeah, in the Islamic jurisdictions. I'm a researcher and also the academician in the field of Islamic economic and finance. And that is one of my concern, yeah, the area of research in corporate governance. All right. So to give you a glimpse about the corporate governance, why it's become paramount, why is it essential for banking practitioners or even for Islamic bankers to look into account that element of the corporate governance. Yeah, if we trace back from the history, yeah, the many fraudulent corporate scandals, corruptions, yeah, I can name also manipulation or even the corporate bankruptcy, yeah, it has been take place because of the poor corporate governance practices. Yeah. So, my dear brothers and sisters, you may be familiar with the name of the Enron cases. Yeah, one of the biggest scandal in the corporate world. Yeah, due to the lack of the accountability and transparency, and it led to the closure of the bankruptcy of that such company. Yeah. If we move into the 2008-2009, where there was a great financial crisis, at that time also there's some giant financial institution, to name a few, such as the Lehman Brothers, AIG, they were also faced a corporate failure, yeah, manipulations, bankruptcy, which was conducted by their management. Yeah. So things like this is kind of the example of the poor corporate governance practices. Yeah? So the poor corporate governance practices, and coupled with the unethical behavior in the corporations, yeah, regardless if this is financial or non-financial firm, it leads to the serious challenges, okay, for the companies, for the corporation. Yeah. So the failure to implement the proper corporate governance framework or proper corporate governance practices in Islamic in banking sector, it also lead the depositor or the customer to lose their trust, lose their confidence to the banking sector. Yeah. What will going to be happening the next? The depositor, the customer, they're going to withdraw their money, withdraw the deposit. Yes. And with this happen at large at the macro level, it will lead to what we call is a bank run. Yeah. Investor, they might cancel their agreement. All right. And they may cancel their investment agreements, withdraw the fund, will eventually create the economic calamity. Right. Islamic banking and finance, yeah, is also subject to corporate governance. Yeah, it is not because of Islamic finance is based on the Islamic value, based on the Sharia principle. They are not automatically immune from the corporate value of the corporate scandals. Yeah. Sorry, but this can you please scroll up still in the first slide. Yeah. I would like to show some of the name. Yeah, here. Yeah. Okay. So not because of the Islamic value, and we will automatically make the Islamic banking or Islamic corporation immune from such a scandal. Yeah. There were a dozen of study that conducting in the academic research. You can Google also, my dear brothers and sisters, some of the cases that lead to the corporate value in the banking, Islamic banking and finance. Yeah, in 2001, the closure of Ihlas Finance House in Turkey. Okay. In 1997, back then, the value of the Islamic bank in South Africa. There was also the practices in the Bank Islam of Malaysia in 2005, and in the Middle East, there was a case in Dubai Islamic Bank. Yeah. So these are the facts. Yeah. That the poor corporate governance framework or poor corporate governance practices will lead to the serious challenges or a serious or dangerous event to the corporation, either it is Islamic or non-Islamic corporations. Right. So that is why Islamic banking, Islamic financial institution also need a proper corporate governance. Right. Can we move to the next slide, Dr. Titis? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So basically, when we're talking about the governance, what is corporate governance all about? Yeah. It simply is the way and on how to conduct and oversight the corporations. Yeah. According to the one of the scholars, named Carter, corporate governance exists in order to translate the wishes of organizational owner into organizational performance. Yeah. So this set of the framework, a set of standard, is take into existence, okay, to transform the goals or the wishes of the owners into a better performance. Right. So that standards, you might see it comprised of the framework. It comprised of the board of directors, the CEO, the chief executive officer, employees and staff, and these all together through the robust governance framework will be transformed to achieve the desirable result outlined by the firm, outlined by the company. Right. So if you learn in the management field, in the management theory, the board of director, it exists to make sure whether the company is doing bad or not, whether the company is doing good or doing bad, whether they are aligned with their objective or not. So all the responsibility are on their shoulder. Yeah. the board of directors, those who are responsible, all right, they have to take care of the various issues. If you're the board of director, you're experienced, you're sitting on then a fast area, okay? The board of directors, yeah, those who are sitting on the board, they might need to know the various concepts, yeah? Finance, law, economic, and of course in Islamic finance, they need also to know the Sharia matters, right? So these people, they will ascertain whether the banking or the corporation, when they're talking about Sharia compliant corporations, they need to make sure all of those activities are aligned with the organizational purposes, right? And I would like also to mention that the board of directors, as I mentioned, they need to know about the various elements, yeah, the various knowledge, including also the Sharia when it comes to the Islamic banking and financial institution. They cannot to say, oh, come on, I'm expert in economic, I'm expert in the field of finance for the past 10 years, for 15 years, but I don't have the Sharia background. And when there is a breach of the Sharia contract, when the breach of the Sharia principles, so it's not my duty, it's not my responsibility. Yes, the board of directors, they cannot say that. Yeah, they have to take responsibility for whatever that event or whatever the Sharia occasion, the breach of the Sharia compliant principle. They have also need to know, even under some jurisdictions, yeah, the Sharia board, they can also become one of the member of the board of directors. Yeah, this is what is happening in Malaysia and also in the GCC countries. Yeah. So on top of that, what I'm trying to say, the board of director role and responsibility is crucial, because these people, all right, those who are sitting on the board, I need to make sure whether the corporation, whether the bank or the Sharia compliant firm are doing good or doing bad, whether they align their objective or not, and they have a fast experience. All right, the responsibility on their shoulder. That is the BOD, or board of director. Right. So in the technical level and the operational activities, the management, which is led by the CEO, yeah, the Chief Executive Officer, and also the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and so on. All right. So they will transform whatever the board of directors set up at the top level, you transform it into practices on the organizational level, right? So that CEO, they have to know the proper conduct on how to transform the idea, the concept set up by the board of directors to be run, to be practices by the staff, by the employee, right? So that is the essential of the CEO. So the operating activity is conducted on the shoulder by the CEO. And the employee during the daily activity, we're gonna run the daily basis, yeah, for the organizational activity, business activity. So things like this all together, what we call is a framework, a standard that we achieve to get the desirable result, yeah, the better performance of the organization. So in the simplest term, corporate governance is on how the company runs through the better and robust system, and also oversight their activities, yeah, in order to achieve their purposes. All right. So can we move to the next slide, Bu Diahitis? Yeah. Now, yeah. Now we come to Islamic banking and financial institution. Yeah. In this slide, by the way, in this presentation, I will use the term Islamic corporate governance and Sharia governance interchangeably. Yeah, but what I mean is refer to the same thing. Yeah. So the Islamic corporate governance, yeah, or the some of the scholars of who is the Sharia governance. If you see here in this slide, yeah, it comprises of two dimensions, yeah, where there is a set of the conventional government standard, yeah, or traditional governance standard, plus the Islamic principle and Sharia requirement. Yeah. By the way, if you look at the literature, there is a debate among the scholar whether the Sharia governance or Islamic governance, Islamic corporate governance, it is a distinct feature of the governance practices. So it is separate from the corporate governance. That is our first view. The second view is those scholars are saying that the Islamic corporate governance or Sharia governance, it is part and parcel of corporate governance. Yeah. But on my humble view, I would like to say that if we look at the structure of the Sharia governance, yeah, there is also some of the element of the traditional corporate governance. Yeah, in the previous slide, you see there is a board of directors there, the employee, yeah, the staff, stakeholder, as shareholders, yeah, and these are the elements taken together. It is exist in the Sharia governance framework. Yeah. So the Islamic corporate governance, it is when we look at that traditional governance framework, a traditional governance standard, that is essentially the acts and conduct of management, whether they are aligned, whether they are consistent with the stakeholder interests. Yeah. So that is the main purposes for the conventional governance standard, to make sure all the conduct and activities or managements doing are consistent with the interests of the stakeholder. But in Islamic banking, in Islamic financial institution, right, they not only align with stakeholder interests, they should also obey the Sharia rules, Sharia principle, yeah, or Islamic value, follow Quran and Sunnah, yeah, which is consistent also with the higher objective of Sharia or the maqasid al-Sharia. Yeah? Inshallah, later on, I will try to delineate one of the model or the framework of the Islamic corporate governance. Yeah. So you see here, the Islamic corporate governance is essentially sum up the two main elements: traditional governance standard plus the Islamic principle or Islamic value. Okay. Next slide, please. Yeah. So you see here in this slide the guideline that set out, yeah, for corporate governance in Islamic financial institution. Yeah. By the way, this guideline is vary across different jurisdictions. So different countries, they might have a different guideline, and also different institutions, they have a different standard or a guideline. It solely depends on the extensivity of the practices or the standards set out by the regulator, yeah, at the country level and also at the institutional level. But this is the common guideline that exists in the governance in Islamic financial institutions. So if you look at in this slide, yeah, at the left side, in the guideline, there are a set of the guideline. Yeah, for instance, the code of conduct, yeah, on how the managements, the board of directors should be appointed, how the Sharia supervisory board should be appointed, and how many members should be sitting on the board, and how they're gonna be run the daily activity. Yeah. So, mashallah, that code of conduct is essential. And I would like also to share that the experience from Bahrain. Here in the Bahrain, yeah, set out by the CBB, Central Bank of Bahrain, every Islamic bankers, yeah, they need to have a proper training, yeah, to have a good value, the good knowledge about the Sharia, about the fiqh muamalah. So the board of director, they must be equipped with the Sharia knowledge, yeah, set out by the CBB, Central Banking of Bahrain. So they have to attain a training. Yeah, I think also happened in Malaysia and also in Indonesia, where the board of directors, they have to comprise the vast knowledge of the Sharia here. So that will be develop a strong elements of the Sharia knowledge for the board of directors, because it will be affect, it will be influence on how they're gonna running, on how they're gonna oversight the entire banking and financial corporations. Yeah, so code of the conduct is essential. In Bahrain, it's set out by the AOFE, yeah, Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. So as you may know, the AOFE is set out the different kind of the conduct, accounting standard, and also one of them the governance standard. So in the governance standard, they set out and how to appoint the board of directors, the Sharia supervisory board, and what are the skill and expertise that need to have, and how to terminate them. That is a set of a code of conduct that is governance, yeah, on that AOFE governance standard. Infrastructure, yes, it is also crucial nowadays, yeah, because now we are now in the times of the digital banking, yeah, in the digital era, especially now during the time of the COVID, yeah, everything turns online, everything turns digital, right? So the IT infrastructure, the digital infrastructure is also essential, that need to be set out by the board of directors and transform later on the technical level, on operational level, and it has a guideline on how to have the proper and robust infrastructure, right? I like also to share experience here in Bahrain about the IT infrastructure, where, as you might know, one of the earliest Islamic bank established in the world is the BISB, Bahrain Islamic Bank, which was established in late 1979, if I'm not mistaken. So, Alhamdulillah, unlike the many Islamic bank in other jurisdiction, where Islamic bank, they try to mimicking or replicating conventional bank, but here in Bahrain, in BISB, I think there's something that we can proud of, because in BISB they have a robust IT infrastructure, a robust digital banking channels. So in that sense, conventional bank, they're replicating what BISB did. Yeah? Because now here we can open the account in BISB online, no need to go to the banks. Yeah, everything's just go online. The money banking also, the wallets infrastructure is very robust. So in terms of the digital banking, alhamdulillah, that is something that I think the good news also from Islamic banking, because the conventional bank, they replicating what Islamic banking did, especially in the case of the BISB. Yeah, so the infrastructure is also crucial when it comes to the banking and financial operations. Of course, yes, the due diligence process, when there is a set of the operational activity, when they wanted to disperse the financing team, the due diligence process is essential. The communications, awareness, and how to be communicate between the top level, middle, and the low level management, internal controls, monitoring, and then enforcements. So all of those are some of the guidelines that are conducted or set out in the corporate governance frameworks. Yeah. So things like that, as mentioned before, are vary across the jurisdictions, are vary across the financial institutions. It depends on the needs, it depends on the regulator who set out these guidelines. Right. So if you look at that guideline, yeah, you see here, it will be set out by the country at the country level. There is a regulator here. Yeah. Later on, we're gonna see two types of the governing model, whether they're centralized or decentralized. Yeah. Like the country, like Malaysia, or in GCC country, where they have the Sharia board under the central bank. So that body that set out the regulations, yeah, they act as a referee, yeah, to how to run the game, yeah, for the Islamic banking and finance. So they set the Sharia board under the central banking. They set out the governance standard, and every Islamic banking and financial institution should be obeyed by the governance standards set out by that body, Sharia body. Right. The board of directors we have discussed previously, where the board of directors' roles and responsibility, they are essential in the way that they need to ensure the interests of the stakeholder at large and the shareholders. Yeah. at a micro level. Yeah, because that banking, Islamic banking, Islamic operation that comprise of the various stakeholder, and one of them are the shareholders. How to protect the stakeholder interest, how to the maximum shareholder value without compromising the Islamic norm, without compromising the Islamic value. That is the main goal of the board of director, right? So below that, there is a set of the board committee who they will oversight, who they control the main board. Yeah, if you see here, if you look at the what we call is the governance report for any banking, Islamic banking, you will see there is a board risk committee. Yeah, there's also the audit committee, the governance committee. Yeah? Then all of those committee, yeah, they will all together, hand in hand, to help the board of the directors, all right, members. But at the same time, they will also oversight whether these people, yeah, board of directors sitting on the board level are doing good, are doing consistent with the rules, with the good, consistent with the purpose of that company, right? At the operational levels, yeah, the management will also be controlled or oversight. Yeah, you see here risk management, controls, internal audit, and later on we also the Sharia audit. Yeah, so these are the what we call is the guideline, yeah, or this framework on how Islamic corporation, Islamic bank, not only Islamic banking, by the way, any corporations that a bit with the Sharia principle, they have the such elements, yeah, to make sure their activity are aligned with their objective, but at the same time also not compromising the Sharia value. So the role of the SSB or Sharia Supervisory Board is crucial here to ascertain whether the banking or Islamic corporation are doing good, inconsistent with the Sharia value. Yeah, so the SSB role is important, but another things that also that have the significant function is the internal Sharia audit. Yeah, whereby at the top level, the Sharia board, the Sharia supervisory board, they will set out on how to issue the products and how to issue the instrument which is consistent with Sharia. Yeah, but at the micro level, this standard, the Sharia guideline, the Sharia principle, will be transformed by the internal Sharia unit. Yeah. So you imagine that if the internal Sharia unit, those people, the Sharia officer, if they do not have the good understanding, or they do not have a good knowledge about the fiqh, about the Sharia knowledge, there is a high likelihood there will be breach of the Sharia principle. Yeah, at the end of the day, they might cause the non-compliant event. Yeah, the non-compliant Sharia event. So that internal Sharia unit is also essential because these people, they will transform whatever the Sharia guideline, whatever the Sharia principle set out by the Sharia board, yeah, should be run at the micro level, should be run by at the institutional level, at the operational level. So again, so it's like the big picture when all together that the top level, the management, the board of directors, together with the Sharia board, they set out the principle, the standard, the codes, but at the micro level, yeah, the risk management committee together also with the inter Sharia unit, they need to make sure whether the code, whether the conduct set out by the board level should be run it in a harmony, in a consistent level. So again, these all together must be exist and runs in consonant in any Islamic financial institution. Again, not only Islamic finance, any corporation, any company that abid the Sharia principle. Yeah, can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah, we have talked a lot about the corporate governance and Islamic corporate governance. So it's just the muqaddimah. Yeah. Now we come to the crux, we come to the essence. So what we discussed today is what is the Sharia governance all about? Yeah. If you look at in the Islamic finance literatures, basically the topic of the Sharia governance is something about a new discourses, yeah, in the Islamic finance field. However, although it's a new concept, it is essential because it will affect the market confidence, yeah, a trust, and the credibility of the Islamic banking and finance industry. Yeah, you imagine, because let's say if there's one one occasions that Islamic banking or the Sharia compliant corporations, they are commit to the non-compliant event, which is a serious event. It has a serious consequences. It will be tremendously affect the reputation of the banking sector, right? Because of that, the people don't trust to the Islamic bank. Yeah, right. So they say, so come on, do not invest in that particular Islamic bank because they're not consistent with the Sharia principle. It will be in turn affect the credibility of the Islamic bank, and even it can trigger the banking run. Yeah, the bank runs. So that Sharia governance, although it's new, it is essential to ascertain the market trust and market confidence with regard to the Islamic banking and finance industry. If we trace back from the history, by the way, the Sharia governance is not something new. Yeah, even it was practiced since the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when there was the Hizbah institution. Yeah, in the market of Medina, where there was, in Medina city, where there was a various group, various tribe there, yeah? Muslim, Jews, Christian are coexist together. And in the market, the Prophet, peace be upon him, he himself established the Hizbah institution. Yeah, it was established and implemented since the pre-modern Islamic era. What was happened during that time? That Hizbah officers, yeah, they will come to the market and will oversight whether the trader are doing good, whether they are honest or cheating their customer. Yeah. Even one time the Prophet himself, he came to the market and he looked at whether the trader are doing something bad to the customer. Yeah. Let's say the fruit seller. Yeah. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he found it, yeah, on one occasions that the sellers, they put the top quality, yeah, of that fruit at the low level. Yeah. So they try to hide it, yeah, the bad quality, yeah, because that fruit is is not so nice. So put at the low level, and at the top level, that seller, they put only the good ones. So when the Prophet came, the Prophet tried to take out the fruit at the low level. Yeah. So Prophet found it. This kind of activity is kind of the cheating the customer, which is not in line with what Islam taught, right? Because in Islam, we have to close, to have the transparency, yeah, to be accountable for whatever they're doing, for whatever things that we are doing, right? Including also the trading activities, right? So Prophet says that those seller have to fully disclose, yeah, whatever they have. If they say they have the bad quality of the product, tell to the customer. So don't hide it, don't cheat the customer. So again, this kind of the Hizbah institution is essentially part of the governance. Yeah, it was happened during the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Yeah. Later on in the modern era, yeah, the first Sharia committee, or nowadays we call it the Sharia Supervisory Board, yeah, or in Indonesia we call it DPS, yeah, Dewan Pengawas Syariah, yeah. The first time was established during the time of the Faisal Islamic Bank, yeah. So the Faisal Islamic Bank is the first that established the Sharia committee, and then followed by the other Islamic financial institution and regulators. But Alhamdulillah, nowadays many countries, yeah, in the Muslim world and also in the non-Muslim countries, they have established the Sharia governance framework. Yeah, that Sharia governance is come into one of the crucial elements in the practices and the operational activities of the Islamic banking and finance. Yeah. So take a look, for example, in Bahrain, it's set up by the AOFE, yeah, which is stand for, I think those from Middle East are familiar with this, the accounting and auditing organization for Islamic financial institution. They set out the governance standard number 1, 2, and 3, where that standard it oversight on how the Islamic bank should appoint the Sharia board, the Sharia review, okay, and the Sharia risk management function under the IFE standard. Yeah. In Malaysia, the governance standard it was set out by the IFSB, yeah, Islamic Financial Services Board, and also the Central Bank of Malaysia or the Bank Negara Malaysia. Yeah. So in the IFSB number 10, it defined the Sharia governance framework in the case of the Malaysia. Right. So again, the Sharia governance, although is relatively new in the field of the Islamic finance, but if you look at the history, it was practiced back then during the time of Prophet Muhammad SAW. But now, Alhamdulillah, most of the country, they consider the Sharia governance framework is crucial in a way to ascertain the business and practices of Islamic banking will be in line with the teaching of Islam in Quran and Sunnah. All right, so could you please move to the next slide, Dr. Dia? Yeah. Now, I take one of the definitions set out by the IFSB, yeah, IFSB number 10, about the principle on Sharia governance system for institutions offering Islamic financial services. Yeah. So what IFSB said about that Sharia governance? Yeah. So I read this from IFSB principle. Yeah, IFSB number 10. Sharia governance is a set of institutional and organizational arrangements through which the Islamic financial institutions ensure that there is an effective independent oversight of Sharia compliance over the issuance of the relevant Sharia pronouncements, dissemination of information, and internal Sharia compliance review. Yeah, so that's a long definition, but if we take out the three important elements from this definition, we can distinguish into three. Number one is what we call is a set of institutional and organizational arrangement, yeah, that we discussed in the previous slide, yeah, where the institutional and organizational arrangement under the Sharia governance, it comprises of board of directors, Sharia committee, the Sharia division, and internal audit functions. And the number two, the second important element is the effective independent oversight of Sharia compliance. Yeah, so that effective oversight of Sharia compliance on how that issue, that particular product or instruments should be consistent with the Sharia rule and norm, and it should be oversight with the proper or the experienced Sharia scholar. Yeah, those with equipped with the vast knowledge in the fiqh mu'amalah, and also at the same time equipped with the knowledge in the Islamic finance practitioner. Yeah, so that must be independent. Yeah, what I mean independent, they not be controlled or dictated by other parties. Say, take a look, for example, their shareholder. Yeah, so because the shareholder appointed that Sharia board, so they, they cannot be independent in doing their job and doing their task because they're appointed by the shareholder. Yeah, so there must be a standard to ensure the independence of the Sharia board or the Sharia committee, right? And the third element is the Sharia pronouncement, whereby the dissemination of informations and internal Sharia compliance review should be conducted in a way that all the products, allowance, the instruments created by the banks should be consistent with the Sharia principle. Yeah, before the event and past the event, ex-ante and ex-post. Yeah, what I mean the ex-ante is before the product launch in the markets. There must be a review, a set of the akad, the contract. What are the akad that will be used in that launch in that product? Whether that one is the contraband or not with the Sharia. Yeah, before the launch and after the launch, it also review again the Sharia matters when the launch information allow the product in the market. So things like this are definition taken out by the FSB, right? So that governance function, yeah, that is the element that we look at from the what is set out by the Bank Negara Malaysia or Central Bank of Malaysia. I think in 2013, the Bank Negara Malaysia said, oh, what we call is the IFSA, yeah, Islamic Financial Services Act, and one of them it governs the Sharia governance element. So the Sharia governance, yeah, as a whole, it has at least the four main functions. Yeah, number one is the Sharia risk management. Yeah. Then number two, Sharia review, Sharia research, and Sharia audit. Yeah, all these together, yeah, these elements are essential to make sure that activities conducted in the Islamic banking or Islamic corporations are compliant with the Sharia principle. Take a look, number one, the Sharia risk management, what they're doing. So that Sharia risk management function, those people who sitting on that functions, they're on that unit, they need to identify the measures and monitors, report if there is any event of the Sharia non-compliant event. Yeah? Take a look when they launch the contract of the Murabaha or the Tawaruk, whether it is considered, it is consistent with the Sharia or not. Yeah. Let's say, for example, in the case of the Murabaha contract, yeah, in the case of Murabaha contract, yeah, the bank, yeah, they need to possess the asset, yes, before they sell it into the customer. So there must be the transfer of asset from the, yeah, to from the you know, if they pay the asset from the, you know, the London Metal Exchange and so on, they must be transferred an asset from to the bank, and then they sell it to the customer, the cost plus markup. But if, let's say, the Sharia when they found it after the audit, and there is no such transfer of asset, so it essentially it breached the essence of the Murabaha contract, right? So that is thing of the Sharia non-compliant events with what the Sharia meant. If this happen, what the Sharia decision, yeah. So any income or any profits incurred from such transaction, it should be forfeited. Yeah, it should be forfeited. So any what you call is a non-compliant event. Any income that derived from non-compliant events should be forfeited and channeled into a social purposes through zakah or a charity purposes. Now this second function, we see the Sharia review unit, the Sharia review function, where these people who sitting on the Sharia review unit, they review the business operation on regular basis to ensure the Sharia compliance. Yeah. So they review the day-to-day operation. Yeah. It's not only when they launch the product, but also the code of conduct of the staff, the employee. They review it, the business activity on daily basis. Yeah, regular basis, to make sure the operational aspect are consistent with the Islamic principle. Yeah. The good thing is also outlined by them if the Sharia research function. Yeah. So these people in the Sharia research unit, they conduct sort of the in-depth research about the Sharia. Yeah. For instance, when they wanted to launch a product, for instance, like the hedging product, yeah, they need to take into account what is happening in the market and take into account what is the fiqh mu'amala that governs the contract of the hedging, which is consistent with Sharia. They will be doing that in-depth Sharia research, particularly is the industrial research, yeah, the practical research prior to submission of the Sharia committee. Yeah. And last but not least, the Sharia audit function, where it's the ex-post process, yeah, where that they provide the assurance that all that product launched, yeah, it must be consistent with the Islamic principle, the Sharia principle. So these all together, I think, is the essential in a way to achieve the main goal. All business operations should be Sharia compliant. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we can skip this because I have explained it. Yeah, this slide. Yeah, can we move to the next slide? Okay. Now, the next concept: why we should need a robust Sharia governance framework. Huh? Why is so important? I think I mentioned on some occasion, like because the main goal or the main purposes of the Islamic banking and financial institution is to achieve Sharia compliance. Yeah. Then every business aspect of Islamic banking and financial institutions, when they conduct the business operation and financial businesses, it must be in accordance with the principle of the Sharia. Yes, that responsibility of the Sharia compliant is not merely confined to the Sharia board or Sharia committee, but it also lies on the shoulder of the board of directors, their management, and the staff. So that is why, for the entire structure of the banking and Islamic financial institutions, that should need to know the Sharia and knowledge. They should have at least the basic principles, the important element, not only confined to the Sharia board, the Sharia committee. The board of directors, as I mentioned before, in Bahrain, before they appoint as a board, they need to sitting on the training to emphasize the philosophy of the Islamic banking philosophy, Islamic economy, the maqasid of Sharia, and also the equipment, the set of the akad or contract. They need to know about it. Although their background is law, although their background is economic, but they have to get some insight about it. Staff and employees also important to get to know about the Sharia element. Even it's more critical for Islamic financial institutions that leveraging on resource sharing, on outsourcing with the conventional infrastructure. If they're if they're outsourcing some of their function, with the conventional infrastructure that maybe we don't know, they don't expose with their Sharia background, so it can expose a challenge that potentially that may breach the Sharia principles. But if in the practice, if you look at what is happening in the reality, Islamic financial institution, they post a strong structure, strong corporate governance structure. Unfortunately, still weak in the element of the Sharia governance. If you see that in some of the Islamic bank in Malaysia, I think they disclosed that the profit realized from the Sharia non-compliant event. Why is such kind can be happen? Because of it's evident that still there is the weak Sharia governance. If that role conducted properly, we should avoid any tainted profit or non-compliant event that generate that profit. So yes, we have this most in general we have a strong corporate governance, but when it comes to the Sharia governance, it's still not is strong enough. Lack of independence, strong influence by management on and a Sharia committee. In reality, the influence of the board of directors to the Sharia committee, we cannot deny it. They might interfere. So let's say we wanted to launch that product, that hygiene product, that relate to the risk management. So the board, they try to give some input, or influence to the Sharia committee. You need to approve that product, for instance. So again, there is an issue of independency here. Another issue of independency where on some occasion, the famous Sharia scholar, they're sitting on the various Sharia board, multiple Sharia board. I will show you later on in the next slide, inshallah. Okay, so another issue, the Sharia committee limited role as advisor, certifying the product approval, validation, and documentation. So their role is just merely the advisory, to give an advice, but not to supervise. The two different things. They can give an advice to the company, but that the board, the management, they are not confined. They are not obligatory to conduct or to run whatever the advice conducted by the Sharia committee. Again, that is the sum of the limit in the practices in the Sharia governance. Okay. Right, so can we move to the next slide? Now, why again it becomes crucial to have the Sharia governance? As mentioned before, that needs to ensure the Sharia compliant. And I would like to address here to instill public confidence and trust. Because without the proper Sharia governance, the banking institution, Islamic banking institution, they might commit with the non-compliant event. And it is happened, potentially it will affect the trust, or confidence from the market, right? At the macro level, it will be affecting their financial stability. But because we as the Muslim, if we look at the maqasid Sharia, the higher objective Sharia, whatever the activity that we're doing now, it is because to seek the blessing from Allah Ta'ala. Including the operations and the financial activity doing by Islamic banking and financial operations, yeah, embedded in the framework of the maqasid, yeah, it is to achieve the blessing of Allah Ta'ala, yeah, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, to achieve the falah, yeah, to achieve what you go with the likelihood not only in this dunya but also in the hereafter. So the proper Sharia governance framework, yeah, indirectly, yeah, need to ensure whatever the activities and the fiduciary duty doing by the banks, the operational activities, yeah, the Sharia activity should be in line with the blessing of Allah. Yeah. So the board of director, when they're doing their job, yeah, they have come to their mind that, oh, what I'm doing there because Allah is watching me, so I have to done it properly. Yeah, the audit, Sharia audit, I need to do the audit functions properly. Yeah, if there is any breach of the Sharia rule, Sharia principle, I need to disclose it. Yeah, without any intervention from the other element, others staff. Yeah, with the directors. So we need to have the best effort in a way to seek the blessing of Allah. Yeah, itqanul amal. Yeah, the best effort to seek the blessing of Allah. So the proper and the strong Sharia governance, yeah, yeah. On top of that, in the light of the maqasid al Sharia, it lead to achieve the blessing of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Another element, if we link to the what is happening right now, the SDG, yeah, Sustainable Development Goals, yeah. In Malaysia, now they start to adopt the SDG function Islamic bank that we call is the VBI, yeah, the value-based intermediation. So where the Islamic banking operation, they start not only comply with the financial, not only to achieve financial goal and Sharia goal, but at the same time, they need also to preserve the environment, preserve the society, right? So now the Sharia governance process has become more broad, yeah, not segmented, but it become a broad function, yeah. So the Sharia governance, they need also to ensure the financing activity. For example, for instance, it should be channeling to the company without any issue in the environment, yeah, things like this. So Sharia governance will ensure all of these 5 elements, yeah, the Islamic banking, Islamic financial institution, or not only financial, any Islamic corporations, yeah, if they place a greater emphasis on that Sharia governance, inshallah, yeah, then also the 5 elements, it should be achieved by the corporation, Islamic corporation. Okay. How many time I still have, Bu Dia?
Dr. Rizky, you have 5 minutes left.
Oh, mashallah, another 5 minutes.
Finish your presentation.
All right. So I think I need to fasten my presentation. Okay, right. So this governance framework actually is I take it from one of my dissertation actually. Yeah. So if you see it in Islamic corporate governance, yeah, the board of directors, Sharia supervisory board, yeah, management, shareholder, community, environment, they are a bit to the Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, to the God. Yeah. They believe that whatever the conduct and activity is watched by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Yeah. So that is why I put that God is at the apex, at the top element here. So that Islamic governance, it governed a large spectrum, yeah, comprised of BOD, SSB, and so on. I think I've mentioned it in the previous slide. So can we move to the next slide? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is the explanation of that models where that Islamic corporate governance, it involves a set of conduct that regulate an organization kind in both the material aspect and spiritual aspect. Yeah, as mentioned before, it's not only to achieve the financial goal or Sharia goal, but now it enlarged to the environmental goal, the social dimension. Yeah. So there is a side of the principle like the responsibility is there, accountability is status, transparency comes in, and Sharia compliance, of course. Yeah? And that practices, it must be abide by the Sharia law and the Sharia regulations. Yeah. If we look at the Tawhidi paradigm, all that practices, it must be under the principle of the oneness of God, of Tawhid. Yeah. And the purpose, the purpose of the Islamic corporate governance, not only protecting the stakeholder right, but also at the same time promoting social well-being, environmental performance, and realizing Sharia compliant conduct. So nowadays, the Sharia governance is embarked wide spectrum, and not only to ensure Sharia compliant, but also to achieve the blessing of Allah, and also to achieve the better environmental performance and social performance. Okay, can we move to the next slide, please, Budia? Yeah. Stop this slide. Yeah, this slide is important because you see, as mentioned before, the Sharia governance framework are vary across different jurisdictions. Different countries, they have a different models. Yeah, but in general, we can distinguish the models of the Sharia governance into two categories. Yeah, number one is the centralized Sharia governance model, and number two is a decentralized Sharia governance model. Yeah, so you see here the centralized governance models where the Sharia supervisory board or Sharia advisory, they are exist under at the macro level, either at the central bank or they're independent from central bank. Yeah, which is in model 1 and model 3. Now let's look at model 1 first. Yeah, where the Sharia advisory body, yeah, it established under the central bank. Yeah, and at the institutional level, yeah, every Islamic banking and financial institution, they should have the Sharia committee, yeah, at the institutional level. So take a look, for example, Malaysia, yeah, where in Malaysia the SACSC, yeah, Sharia Advisory Council, it established under the Central Bank of Malaysia, and at the institutional level, yeah, the banking institution in Malaysia, Islamic banking institution, they should have the Sharia committee. Yeah, the country that adopt it, for instance, Malaysia, Pakistan, Sudan, and so on. Yeah. Now I would like to move to the model 3, yeah, where in Indonesia, still here. Yeah, in model 3, yeah, there is the Sharia governance body at the macro level, but it is not under the central bank, yeah, which is happen in our country in Indonesia. We call is the DSN MUI, Dewan Syariah Nasional, Majelis Ulama Indonesia. It is an independent body. Yeah. So the Sharia Supervisory Board was under the National Fatwa Council. Yeah. So whatever the fatwa issued by the DSN or Sharia Supervisory Board, it must be abided and followed by the Sharia Committee at the institutional level. So it happened in Indonesia. Whereas the second type of model is a decentralized model, where there is non-existence of the Sharia body at the macro level, at the country level. They only exist at the institutional level. For instance, the country that practices in Bangladesh, Kuwait, UAE, I think in the what we call in the GCC countries, yeah, the most adopt a decentralized model. All right, so can we move to the next slide, Bu Dia? Yeah. Right. So albeit we have a different models across jurisdictions, but the guiding principle that govern the Sharia governance, we can distinguish into 4 types. Yeah? The oversight and accountability. Yes, the management, the Sharia board, they should have the accountability and responsibility ex ante and ex post whenever they issue them any Sharia fatwa. Yeah, when they outline the Sharia rule and regulation, when they're issuing a product. They outline also the accountability and responsibility of board of directors. So accountability and responsibility is must to have by the Sharia board. Another crucial element is the independency, as I mentioned before. Yeah? The Sharia board must be independent whenever they issue the Sharia decision. Yeah, it should not be interfered, yeah, by the others member, other board of director, for instance. Yeah? And they should be independent by other influence from others, let's say the regulator and so on. So the independency, because it is crucial, because that all that Sharia matters is lie on the Sharia supervisory board, and at the same time they also have the moral responsibility. Moral responsibility because the Sharia board is like the stamp of halal and haram on their hand. Yeah, if they're not independent, so they might breach that principle. Yeah, they could not be compromised about halal and haram. It must be black, it must be black. If it is white, it must be white. So no, the gray area must be independent. Of course, like another third element is the competency. Yeah. Nowadays, OFE standard and ISB standard on corporate governance, they set out the competency that should have by the Sharia committee, or the Sharia risk management or the Sharia audit. They need to be equipped both Sharia knowledge and Islamic finance practitioner knowledge. Yeah. So these two elements, the Sharia committee, they have to gain these two knowledge, yeah, in order to ensure all the activity conducted in the banking institution are consistent with the Sharia principle. Confidentiality and consistency. Yeah? There is a minimum set of rules that emphasizes the importance of observing confidentiality and consistency in decision making by the Sharia committee. So the ex ante and ex post process is matter here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I would like to bring up some of the fact I did research here. Yeah. This is a data I download from the Thomson Reuters. Yeah. If you see the top 10 Sharia scholar sitting on the board on the Islamic banking and Islamic financial institution, yeah, you see here, yeah, I think you might familiar from some of the name. Let's say they say Abdul Qatar Abdul Buddha, yeah, say Nizam Al Yukubi, Dr. Daud Bakar, yeah, say Abdul Khalifa Al Qasar, and so on. Yeah, these are the top. Say Isam also. Say Nizam from Bahrain, say Isam, Dr. Daud Bakar from Malaysia. You see, those scholars, yeah, they're sitting on diverse board, yeah, all around the world, yeah. So this is one of the concern about the Sharia governance. Because you see, let's see, say Abdul Qatar Abdul Buddha. He himself sitting on the 66 Islamic banking and Islamic financial institution all around the world. MashaAllah, you see, because there's a famous say. So again, they need to, he himself need to make sure whether the Sharia matter are take place in the banking or financial institution or not, right? So if the Sharia scholar, without further, you know, we know their capabilities, yeah, their expertise on Sharia and their experience, we not question about it. But if they're sitting on the multiple board, on the many board, yeah, in my humble opinion, it might affect the independency. It might affect the process later on the how they run the Sharia governance processes, the robust Sharia governance process. That is why in Malaysia, I think back 3 or 4 years ago, the Bank Negara Malaysia, they set out the one Sharia scholar can only sitting on 2 board. Yeah? They can only sitting one Islamic bank plus another one non-banking institution, for example, Takaful. Yeah? To prevent, yeah, this issue of the multiple board where the Sharia scholar sitting on that Sharia board. All right. Now, I think, yeah. So these are some issue and challenge. I pose this question to challenge, yeah, you by brother and sister. You might ask some of the issue, yeah, that we need to discuss later on. Yeah, which one is the model is the best? Is there a centralized model or decentralized models? What are the competency that should have by this to becoming a profound Sharia scholar? Yeah, the regulatory policy that can accommodate all type of the entity, capability of the established Sharia compliant function, and I think this issue number C also one of the issue. Can a non-Muslim become a Sharia scholar or not? Yeah. All right. So these are the issue that you might need to discuss or to further delineate later on. In conclusions, yeah, I would like to end my presentations with the sum of the concluding remark here. Yeah, corporate governance is essential to translate the wishes of organizational owner into organizational performance. Islamic corporate governance is equitable treatment welfare of all stakeholders in society, believing in the oneness of God or Tawheed, and being accountable for every act. To keep managers or employee or businessmen abstain from unlawful activity or haram activity. There are existence of the different Sharia governance models across various jurisdictions, which will lead to the different result and implications. Last but not least, the Sharia governance is crucial to lead the market trust and the credibility of the Islamic banking and finance industry. With that, I stop here. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rizky. I'd like to express our appreciation of your most interesting talk. And then, dear participants, I'm sure that after that stimulating presentation, you would like to ask some question or comment on some of the point of the speaker made. So I find out one question from the participants. Okay, I will read it for you, Dr. Rizky. From Nofilia Aisha, yeah. Thank you for your insightful presentation. My name is Nofilia Aisha, Universitas Jember. Is there any tools that can represent a good implementation of corporate governance? And the second question is, what do you think about good corporate governance? It is fully extreme. Could you understand the question, Dr. Rizky? Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shall I answer it one by one question?
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe the first question first. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So the question from sister from Jember. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So the good conduct of the corporate governance, I think that's one of the questions that she asked. Yeah, as mentioned before, and that in my presentation, actually, different country they might have different models, yeah, of the Sharia governance. Yeah, there is a centralized model and decentralized models. So there is no correct answer whether that model is good, decentralized is good, decentralized is bad. There is no direct answer to this because again, it's subject to the extensivity of the Islamic banking and financial institutions that operate in that country. Is depend on the regulators who set out how the banking and financial institutions should abide with the governance standard and rules. Yeah, but at least there are four key elements here. Yeah, there are four key elements if we want to know whether the banking are doing good or not in terms of the Sharia governance. Yeah, I think in my presentation I mentioned at least four Sharia governance function. If you can go back in my presentations, the four Sharia governance function, there are the Sharia review, yeah, the Sharia risk management, yeah, Sharia audit committee, yeah. So things like these are the functions. Yes, this one, yeah. The Sharia risk management control function, Sharia review, the Sharia research, and Sharia audit functions. All of those functions should be done properly at the institutional level and at macro levels. Yeah. Not all the country. I did my thesis on corporate governance when I did my PhD, and to my surprise, I found that some countries in Central Asia, in Iran, and other country I forget the country. But to my surprise, even they do not disclose the number of the Sharia board. They don't disclose the role. What are the code of conduct for the Sharia board? What is the function of the Sharia supervisory board? What is the Sharia advisory functions? Things like that they are not disclosing. Yeah. So in terms of the Sharia governance, to my surprise, some of the country they are still lack of the Sharia governance framework. Yeah. However, other country they have.
Dr. Rizky, I think you mute your microphone, please. Doctor?
Yeah. Are you referring to me?
Dr. Rizky?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, there's a connection problem.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Bu Dia?
Yeah. Now it's okay.
All right. Yeah. So back to my point. Yeah, the good corporate governance and the Sharia governance and the Islamic banking and financial institution, there is no correct answer, is no correct model on that. But at least they need to have this essential element. Yeah. the Sharia risk management, Sharia review functions, research, and the Sharia audit functions. Yeah, and there are this is number one. They should have these functions. The second ones, there are some of the principles, yeah, where the board of directors and also the Sharia supervisory board must appear. What is, for instance, yeah, transparency, accountability, yeah, and of course the Sharia compliance, yeah, and Tawhidi product. All of these and elements, yeah, this will be guided, yeah, in the practice of the Sharia governance function run at the banking level, right? So this is one of perhaps the criteria when we come whether the country they have the Sharia governance functions or they have the strong Sharia governance principle or not. Yeah, the easiest way to you how the bank have the strong governance function or not. Easy. Yeah, the easiest way for you can see from the external perspective. Yeah, from the external perspective you can go to the report. Yeah, the governance report of the particular banks. Yeah, most of the banks when they have the strong or the robust governance framework, they will disclose. Yeah, they will disclose all of this function. They will disclose the important information about the Sharia risk and how many members is there, how many meetings conducting. Yeah, what are the Sharia research that has been done, and how is the Sharia audit activities that is being conducted in the bank levels. Yeah, and some country I take it for example instance in GCC country in Malaysia. Most of the Islamic bank in these two regions they disclose this kind of the informations. Yeah, so Indonesia also has been disclosed this kind of the informations. We can see the governance report for respective Islamic bank. So that is my first answer, Bu Diatitis. Hope we can answer you. Yeah, can we move to the next question?
So there is a question from Ms. Saiko Gozama. Saiko Gozama. Yeah, but is that you can ask online? I mean directly because you didn't.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'd love to have the direct question from the participant.
Yeah. Okay, Ms. Saiko, Mr. or yeah.
Yeah.
Dasama, please. Yeah, do.
Okay, thank you, Bu.
Mr.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Assalamu alaikum to you all. Thank you, Doctor, for the wonderful presentation. We've learned a lot there. Basically, during the interval, I went to pray, so I don't know whether the question I'm going to ask you may say something about it before. I wanted to know whether there is any reputable audit institution that is purely based on Islamic banking and finance, like these 4 pillars of Sharia governance you talked about Sharia audit function, whereby internationally recognized, like maybe the other audited firms that are licensed to audit Islamic financial institutions. Yeah, is there any of that?
Yeah.
Because basically the reason why I asked about this, maybe in countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, fine, they may have a strong institution for it, but countries like maybe where I'm from, because I'm from the Gambia, West Africa, they may need those kind of things. Those Islamic institutions, Takaful and Islamic banks that are operating there, maybe in one way or the other, they may not have access to that, but they will use conventional auditing system. And also I would like to know whether the auditing system of conventional banking and Islamic banking, there is any fundamental differences in terms of policies and principles. Yeah.
Okay, please, Dr. Rizky, time is yours.
Yeah, mashallah. Thank you for our brother from Gambia, brother Saiko Gozama. Yeah, I'm sorry if I misspell your name, brother Saiko, but this is a very nice question. Yeah, very good question. Whether is there any reputable audit institutions in this in the light of the Islamic banking and finance industry? Yeah, I didn't mention on my presentations. Right. For your information, brother Saiko, yeah, nowadays the Islamic banking and Islamic corporations, they start to outsourcing these functions, especially the Sharia audit. Yeah. Yes, there are some of the reputable Sharia audit function in this world. Yeah, I give you some example. In Bahrain, yeah, in Bahrain here we have what we call is SRB, Sharia Review Bureau. Yeah, so brother, you can Google it later on. Yeah, SRB, Sharia Review Bureau. Yeah, Bureau. Yeah, where it comprises of all of these four elements. Yeah? They're doing the risk management functions, Sharia review, research, and also Sharia audit functions. Yeah, and those scholars, it's comprised from various countries, various jurisdictions. Yeah, from the Far East until the UK, US. Yeah, they are doing the Sharia audit, their client across the GCC countries, even the North Africa countries. Yeah, so they employ, yeah, those people who have an expertise in the Sharia and Islamic finance practitioners to run and conduct the Sharia audit function, expose and ex-in and expose processes. Yeah. In Malaysia, there is also another reputable Saudi institution, I think in Amani, if I'm not mistaken, where they're also conducting. Amani is under the privilege of Dr. Daud Bakar. Yeah, they had conducted the audit functions. Yeah, so what else have I known? I think these are two top reputable Sharia audit function in the world, brother. Yeah, so Sharia Review Bureau in Bahrain and the Amani Advisory Institution in Malaysia, where both institutions they provide, yeah, the Sharia audit function to their client in GCC, in the Far East, in Indonesia, Malaysia, even in the North Africa countries. Right. So you can Google later on, yeah, to find out the this information about the Sharia audit provided with this reputable audit institution. Yeah, I'm not sure whether in your country, in Gambia right now, is there any Islamic banking or not. But if you are at that time of the inception of the Islamic banking institutions, so that institutions, yeah, that audit institution will help the establishments, and also they can make of the some of the advices, yeah, on how to conduct a proper and robust and strong governance processes. Hope we can answer your question, brother Saiko Bazam. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Rizky. So, okay, let's see. Is there any question for Dr. Rizky? Okay. Anyone? Okay. So, as anybody seems to be not ready to ask questions at the moment, Dr. Rizky, I will use this opportunity to ask the speaker. So here, you say that I will highlight something like you say that the good governance of Islamic banking, or the good Islamic good governance, will create the trust. Is that right? So how to beside the good governance, yeah, we can build the trust. So from here in Indonesia, how to start it for the Islamic banking in Indonesia? Dr. Rizky?
Yeah. Okay, so this you're asking about the how to build a trust in the case of the Islamic banking in Indonesia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, my presentation I highlight that the Sharia, the strong and robust governance models, if it conducted properly at the management levels, at the top levels, at the end of the day, it will let the public confidence and trust from the markets. Yeah, I give you, for instance, if that, you know, if there is any Sharia compliant event in any Islamic financial institution and it disclosed to the market, the public get know about it. Yeah, for those investors who are really concerned about Sharia, what will be the likelihood in the futures? Yeah, perhaps they might not to invest in that particular Islamic bank. Yes, because they are considering the Sharia at most principle that should be obeyed by any Islamic banking financial institutions. Yeah, there are some cases. It is a real cases, by the way. Yeah, in my presentation, I give example in the Murabaha case where it was happened. Yeah, in some country, in some bank, but I cannot name the bank, by the way. Where in the case of the Murabaha contract, yeah, the bank, they do not take a position of that asset before they're selling it to their customer, right? So when they come to the Sharia Supervisory Board meeting and they found it, oh, come on, what is the evidence? Is there any evidence that there is a position of asset? Yeah, unfortunately, there is no evidence. Yeah? So this occasion is kind of the breach of the Sharia principle in the case of the Murabaha, right? So what will be happen afterward? The Sharia Supervisory Board will issue a decree that any profits, any income generated from that activity, it must be forfeited. It must not be recognized by the banking institution, and it should be channeled to that charity. So how we can achieve that a proper and strong governance process, that it will be a question, right? The first and foremost, I refer to that standard issued by the AOFE. Yeah, when they recruit the Sharia officer, at the micro level, we have the Sharia internal audit. So those people who are sitting on that Sharia function, the Sharia unit, we need to make sure that those people are they have the capability in terms of the Sharia, they have the vast knowledge in the fiqh muamalah. At the same time, they also know the Islamic finance practitioner, what is going on in the market, right? Can you imagine if that, let's say, the Sharia board, they issue the some of Sharia decisions. Unfortunately, at the micro level, the Sharia officer, they cannot fully comprehend what the Sharia board says, or they might get a misunderstanding, because of that not complete information that they do not know about it. So at the end of the day, it will be create a Sharia non-compliant event, because those people in that Sharia unit, they will be transformed. Whatever Sharia decision making set out by the board, the Sharia board, it should be implemented in a daily basis. Yeah, so need to make sure, they need to have the Sharia background, at the same time also the Islamic finance practitioners background. So need to know the board. Yeah. Yes, but how about if they comes from the conventional and give them some of the training? I think there's some of the common issue in country Indonesia. Not only Indonesia, I think other countries as well. Most of the persons, they are trained in the conventional, and they're sitting with the 1 week training on that one about the Sharia, and they're sitting on the Sharia unit. I think it's not enough. So we need to have the people who are fully master about the both the Sharia functions and also the Islamic finance knowledge. Yeah. So the pool of the Sharia scholar that equipped with these two will be support a strong and robust Sharia governance. That is number one. Yeah. The second one is also to support what from the regulator or from the governments. Yeah. I think in Indonesia we have the LPPI, PPI, INSIF in Malaysia, or BIBF in Bahrain, where here in Bahrain, before the board, before the director, they are appointed to be a member of the BOD, Board of Directors, they should attain a training, a proper training. And one of the training is about the Maqasid al-Sharia, about the fiqh muamalah, about the contract. Yeah. So we need to make sure that the Board of Directors, they have a vast experience, although they have a vast experience, but at the same time, they also get to know about the Sharia exposure and how to run the business according to the Sharia principles. Yeah. So like just to share with you what is happening in the PIPF here, because this is set out under the CBB, Central Bank of Bahrain. Yeah. And every C-level and also the board members, they have to get the training, from that, and need to make sure they can pass that kind of the training to be qualified as the board member. Right. This is number two. The third one, need also to avoid that the multiple membership issue. Yeah, because that might be, again, if you refer to the many empirical research in the corporate governance, one of the factors, the multiple board membership, it lead to the to reduce or to lead to the poor corporate and Sharia governance processes. If I'm not mistaken, the past 3 or 4 years ago, Malaysia has been outlined that the Sharia governance or the Sharia scholar can be only sitting one Islamic bank plus one other non-Islamic banking to avoid that any independent issue or the membership issue. So things like this perhaps good, things can enhance or can increase the public trust and confidence at the market level, which eventually will increase the market credibility of Islamic banking.
Okay.
Hope we can answer you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rizky. Let's see. Okay, I think Brother Saiko Gasama wants to pose one more question. Is that okay? Okay, brother, please do.
Okay. Thank you once again for giving me the floor. Okay, Doctor, this question may not necessarily have a relation with what you are presenting, but yet still it has to do with the operation of Islamic banking and finance. I want to maybe have some idea about it. This has to do with the customers they deal with. Like we know that Islamic banking and finance, they have two types of customers. Some are Muslim, some are not. Some just bank with them because maybe they have an interest with the system of banking. So basically, I want to know, in a situation whereby a customer is dealing in haram products or in a business line which is not halal per se, what should Islam bank do with that guy? Should they stop banking with that individual, or they should continue with that? I just want to have your view about it. It may be in a situation where they don't know. Maybe perhaps one can say they may not necessarily go and investigate about it. But in a situation where it is clear to them this guy is dealing in the business line, the individual is dealing in is haram, maybe nightclub or bars or stuff like that. In that case, what should they do? What action should be taken? If you have any idea, please you share with me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Saiko. Yeah, first and foremost, when the Islamic banking channel the funds, the financing to their customers, they need to make sure the underlying activities or the underlying business that is conducted by the customers must not contravene any Sharia issue. As you mentioned, there is no issue of the riba, the usury, gharar, speculations, and maisir or gambling, or pornography and alcohol. So things like this and activity must be absent when the Islamic bank channels their financing. But there was a case, some cases like in the case of some of the hotel, the Mandarin Hotel, where that hotel it commit to sell the liquor. Liquor is haram. It's breach also the Sharia rules and regulations, and it was channeled to that hotels. And even that hotel, Mandarin Hotel, is considered as one of the Sharia compliant fund, which is in fact it is not, right? So in that occasion, there is some of the event where Islamic bank or even the regulator, they were absent in the considers what kind of the business are halal or what kind of the business are haram, right? So what will be happen? That is might be your question. How we should take into actions if that there is an action, right? So first and foremost, if there is any non-compliant event, that one your question is conducted by the customer. So that Islamic banking or the Sharia board here, they have to to review the processes on how that financing can be disbursed to that non-compliant activity conducting by their staff or conducting by their employee. It should not be because in SM any financing is not be disbursed to any haram activity. But if it is happens, any profit, any increment that occur from such event, from such occurrence, it cannot be recognized as part of the profit by the bank. So any increment or any profit from such unlawful activity, it must be channeled into charity purposes, right? So the bank, they cannot recognize type of the profit before is the tainted profit, tainted profit or non-compliant income, Syariah non-compliant income. So if you look at brother in the Islamic bank in GCC or in the Malaysia, for instance, if you look at the financial report, there is a note where they always disclose the Syariah non-compliant income, where it might be because of the the human error or they're not doing due diligence properly. There is some of the Syariah non-compliant even. So that will be channeled to charity, to the zakat or sadaqah or what. So things like this, brother, when there is any unlawful activity in Islam, I need to trace back how it can be happen, and any profit from that, it should be forfeited. It should not be recognized as part of the income, a part of the profit by any banking institutions, Islamic banking institution. Hope it can answer you, Saiko.
Okay, Dr. Rizky, is it okay to answer the 6 question that you post here? Because I'm very, curious. Actually, like the issue and Sharia governance model in your PowerPoint presentation. Number 1, centralized Sharia body or decentralized?
Yeah, I think number 1, I have answered it. In the first question, there is no such correct models. I mean, the good model is that the centralized is the best or decentralized is the model, the best models, because it vary across different jurisdictions. Is vary from a regulator's perspective. Both they have the negative and a positive side. If you have at the macro level, the centralized Sharia body, it easy to transform whatever the Sharia decision into micro level at the institutional level, right? But if you don't have it, right, if you don't have and you only have a decentralized only at the institutional levels, perhaps one of the issues that might rise is, there is no harmonization of that Sharia decisions take into account by the Islamic banking institution, but there are more freedom to adopt it, right? So more what you call is creativity. I'm not saying creativity in terms of the issuing a fatwa, but there are more, more innovation to issuing a product. So there is positive and negative side of the centralized and decentralized models, and each of that model also lead to the different impact of different result. So this is number 1. Should I answer one by one, Dr. Dia? I think you mute your speaker.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting issues here. So what about number 2? Competency of Sharia scholars to understand the complexity.
Regarding to the professionalism, in a my previous slide, I showed it, the multiple Sharia, the Sharia board sitting on a multiple organization, So which is it affect here professionalism. So that is one of that issue to limit the number of the board membership, especially the Sharia board membership. We do not question their the competency, the Sharia experiences, their Islamic finance knowledge about it. But when they're sitting at too many board, can you imagine, for instance, say Abdul Sattar Abdul Guda, 66 Islamic bank and financial institution, he's sitting around the world. 1 year, how many weeks? 1 year is 54 weeks, right? So perhaps 1 week, more than 1 meeting is sitting on that, if it is doing it properly. So to avoid it, it should be the limit of professionalism, to issue of the professionalism. It must be, the code of conduct on how to appoint and how to take the professional membership of the Sharia board. That is about the professionalism. And availability of Sharia scholar in the required Islamic finance knowledge. As I mentioned before, in Malaysia, they make a decision, code of conduct, that for those who wanted to be a Sharia board, or and even in the Sharia unit, yeah, they need to post 2 knowledge at least. Sharia knowledge plus Islamic finance knowledge. So those who are master in Islamic finance without knowing the fiqh, they cannot be the Sharia scholar. At the same time, you are expert in the fiqh, but at the same time, you don't know the Islamic finance, Islamic economy, it also is not be eligible to appointed in the Sharia unit.
Yes.
Yeah. Number 4, regulatory policy that can accommodate all type of the entity. Again, it is depend, especially with talking about the centralized model here. Yeah. When the regulatory policy come in the case of the Malaysia or a GCC country, yeah, what are kind of the policy? For instance, in Bahrain, yeah, if you wanted to appoint as a Sharia board, yeah, or even the board of directors, you must to attend the fiqh muamalah training, Sharia muamalah training for the assigned institutions, yeah, to make sure that those people who are sitting on the board, they're equipped with that Sharia knowledge, yeah, fiqh muamalah, maqasidul asariah, Islamic finance, Islamic law, yeah, things like this are set out by the regulator. Yeah, capability to establish Sharia compliant function. Yeah, again, this is I think if the banking have 4 this function is kind of the indication that they adopt a strong and robust Sharia governance process. Yeah, where there is a review, audit, risk management, and research functions. And how to do that? Yeah, some of the bank they do it by themselves. They establish this unit. Other bank they outsourcing into under audit firm. Yeah, I give an example like in Bahrain they have the SRP, Sharia Review Bureau. Yeah, because because of the COVID now they want to cut costs, yeah, minimize costs. So one of the way they outsource this function into others company, yeah, to run that Sharia compliant function. But again, if that outsource it into the other company, it might have the issue of the the independency, yeah, and how they to what extent, yeah, they can doing these functions it's properly, yeah, review, audit, risk management, and research. But talking about the Sharia audit, yeah, in Bahrain, yeah, CBP has outlined that the Sharia audit it must be conducted 2 times, yeah, internally and externally. Yeah, what I mean internally is in the Bahrain, yeah, then all that Sharia audit process it by doing by the people sitting on the internal staff, the Sharia internal staff of that bank. But at the same time, it must be complemented with another Sharia audit from the external part, yeah, which is the Sharia Review Bureau, for instance. Yeah. So again, to make sure the Sharia compliance activities on any businesses or financing conducted by Islamic Bank in Bahrain, the CBP has outlined that Sharia audit must be done internal and external process. So this kind of again regulatory policy that accommodate the strong and robust Sharia governance. Now, last but not least, can non-Muslim be Sharia scholars? I think it's still a debatable issue. Yeah. I have one professor. Yeah, I know one professor. He is fast experienced in the fiqh muamalah. I was in Japan in 2017, 2018. He know Arabic, perfect in Arabic. He know fiqh, murabaha, musyarakah, tawarud. He is perfect. Unfortunately, he's non-Muslim. Mashallah. I think Hidayah is not coming. I hope Hidayah is coming to him. But although they are, you know something, but at the first place, you don't believe he did. Yeah. You don't have a belief, but at the end of the day, you want to run Sharia functions, Sharia processing like this, but you don't believe. So things like this, something is still debatable. How you can do something, but you don't believe at the first place. So that is an issue whether the non-Muslim can be a Sharia scholar in the case of the Islamic banking and financial institution. I don't know. Maybe later on in other jurisdiction they're relaxing this regulation, the rule, but it is another issue, yeah, where the people, the scholar, they don't believe that something, they don't believe in Islam, they don't believe the Tawheed, and they don't want to do the Sharia things. It might be create another potential issue later on. Yeah, I think this is my answer, Dr. Dia.
Yeah, thank you very much. Answer all the questions. But I think before end up the class, the lecture, so this is the last question from Dr. Dimas here. Dr. Rizky, if I may ask a humble question, if we look at an Islamic banking operation, we do agree that there is a combination between Sharia rulings and profit motives. where somehow both of them are not going hand in hand due to a complicated interest among parties. If we face this conflicting situation, how to balance between Sharia and profit goals? Is there any best standard practices? Thank you, Dr. Rizky. From Brother Dimas.
Yeah, my dear brother, Dr. Dimas, it's hard question to ask to me always. Yeah. How to balance between the Sharia and profit motive? Perhaps it is what Dr. Dimas wanted to ask. Yeah. First and foremost, we need to know that the profit is allowed in Islam. Yeah. Profit is halal. There is no such definition that the bank they cannot take that profit. Even that profit is at 30% or 40%, as long as that is the halal, yeah, and lawful profit, yeah, and legitimate profit. So profit is no issue with that. No, the scholar accepted the legitimate profit, the halal and so even legitimate profit. Yeah? But in the case of if we compromise profit at the Sharia compliant, again, I think it's Brother Dimas, because I'm not sitting on the Sharia board, so I think it might be biased for me to answer your question. But from my interaction with the Sharia scholar here in the GCC in Bahrain, especially, yeah, there are two types of the Sharia scholar, Dr. Dimas. Yeah. First, those who are really concerned in the Sharia matters, regardless whatever motive that will be forfeit, whatever the profit will be gone, yeah, because the breach of that Sharia rules. So that Sharia must be at the top priorities, must be at the top level, at the apex. So they're gonna forfeit the profit because why? The essence of Sharia governance is to ensure that Sharia compliant, not to get a profit. Yeah, that is why the Sharia compliant is to come at the first place. Yeah. I would like also to say from some of my interaction here that, some of the Sharia scholar, we cannot deny it, when I interview during my PhD thesis, to whom you are accountable for, yeah, and they say accountable to the board of directors, to my shareholder. Why? Because they are those are people who appoint me, right? So in that case, yeah, there perhaps arise influence, yeah, from these party, because when they run their activity, they issue the Sharia decision processes, they might get to know that, these people, the shareholder, they have appointed me, the board of directors, they have appointed me, so I'll be accountable for them. Whatever the activity that we do, it must be achieved their goals, yeah, their objectives. So again, there will be compromise Sharia motive and profit motive. Even in some occurrence, yeah, it's not my personal experience, this again based on my interactions, when they issue or launch the product, it dictated by the board of directors, it dictated by some other party, because we need to have that product, and you need to find out and how the Sharia rule, yeah, set out the Sharia principle on how you launch the product into the market, but also fulfill the Sharia principle. So it will be compromised. Again, it depends on what kind of the Sharia scholars. In the case of the compromising profit motive and Sharia motive, Dr. Dimas. Thank you very much, Dr. Dimas.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rizky. I think I would now like to sum up the main points of our decision. So the first is Sharia compliance is the most important point to build a good governance in Islamic financial system or Islamic banking system. And the second is that professionalism, competency of Sharia scholars to understand the complexity of Islamic financial instrument is also important nowadays. And then the third, regulatory policy. We need the regulatory policy that can accommodate all types of entity. And then thank you very much, Dr. Rizky. I would like to thank again to our speaker for his very interesting and stimulating contributions, and the participants for the valuable following discussion. Thank you, Dr. Rizky, and the participants.
Thank you very much, Budia.
Okay, I think we're running out of time. we must have a asar prayer also.
Sure.
So I will end up the session with hamdalah and doa kafaratul majelis. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Billahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Makasih Pak Dimas, Bu Dia, makasih.
Thank you, Dokter.
Ya, sama-sama Mbak. Terima kasih juga.
Rizky tambah berkemajuan.
Berkemajuan sesuai dengan moto Muhammadiyah nih ya.
Oke, makasih Ki ya.
Ya, sama-sama Pak Dimas. Makasih Bu Dia. Sama-sama Bu Dia. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay, thank you participant for your contribution. Okay, see you soon in the next lecture. Pak Dimas, thank you.
Terima kasih Bu.
Paradigma pendidikan kami adalah memberi peluang bagi yang ingin berusaha untuk maju dan meraih kemandirian dengan penguasaan ilmu dan teknologi secara kreatif, inovatif, dinamis, dan berakhlakul karimah. Kami menjadi sebuah universitas yang unggul dalam pengembangan ilmu dan teknologi dengan berlandaskan nilai-nilai Islam untuk kemaslahatan umat.